Every empire was built on debt, even the pyramids, from ancient Egypt to modern Wall Street. Every civilization discovered the same secret. You don't need to own the gold to control it. You don't need wealth to rule the world. You just need people to believe that you have it. That belief, the silent trust between rulers and ruled, has always been the true currency. And every time that trust was stretched too far, civilizations cracked. By the early 20th century, money was no longer shining metal in royal vaults. It had become an agreement. Invisible ink binding nations, citizens and wars into one global web. And that web was tightening. World War I turned credit into a weapon. For the first time, the power of nations wasn't measured in gold, but in how much debt they could issue before collapsing. Governments didn't pay for war with treasure. They paid with promises. They sold victory bonds to citizens, asking them to invest not in profit, but in patriotism. Banks printed new money, backed only by those promises of repayment after victory. But when the guns fell silent, the debt didn't. It simply changed direction. Germany owed reparations to the Allies. The Allies owed loans to America. And America, sitting on the majority of the world's gold reserves, became the banker of the planet. For the first time in history, the global economy resembled a pyramid. A few lenders at the top, millions of debtors supporting the weight below. But pyramids never rise without cracks. The 1920s roared with blind optimism. Credit was easy, markets were booming, and everyone believed the party would never end. Homes, factories, and stocks were bought not with savings, but with borrowed money. And then one October morning in 1929, belief vanished. A single day of panic erased decades of illusion. Paper fortunes dissolved. Banks failed. Factories shut down. And millions realised a painful truth. The money they thought they had was never really there. Out of this collapse came one of history's strangest economic experiments. In the small Austrian town of Virgil, the mayor introduced a new kind of currency. Money that lost value every month unless it was spent. It forced circulation. A currency that decayed like fruit. And it worked. In just 1 year, Virgil's economy grew faster than any region in Europe. The same coins and notes changed hands 400 times more often. The result? Jobs returned, trade flourished, and poverty dropped. Velocity, not volume, created prosperity. But the experiment threatened the bank's monopoly on money, so it was shut down. Then came another war, one far greater than the first. World War II was the most expensive event in human history. But once again, nations didn't pay for it. They borrowed it. Factories ran day and night, not for profit, but for survival. The United States Federal Reserve doubled the money supply. Britain mortgaged its empire. Germany issued bonds backed by the lands it conquered. And when the war finally ended, the cost was staggering. But the strange thing was the world felt richer. Debt had funded destruction, yet also built production. War had proved that borrowing could create growth, if enough people believed in tomorrow. In 1944, 44 nations met in a quiet American town called Bretton Woods. Their goal, rebuild the global economy and prevent another collapse. Their solution, a new kind of financial pyramid. Every currency would now orbit the US dollar, and the dollar itself would be tied to gold, $35 an ounce. It was a perfect illusion of stability. At first it worked beautifully. Trade exploded, Europe rebuilt, Japan industrialized, and America printed the dollars the world demanded. But behind the scenes, the math began to fail. If the dollar was backed by gold, how could America print more money than it had metal to redeem? By the 1960s, foreign banks held far more paper dollars than America had gold in its vaults. Countries like France began calling the bluff. They sent ships filled with dollars to New York and demanded gold in exchange. The vaults of Fort Knox began to empty. Confidence drained with them. Then, in 1971, President Richard Nixon addressed the nation. Families sat around their televisions as he uttered a single sentence that changed history. I have directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Temporarily became forever. With that declaration, money left the age of metal and entered the age of belief. From that moment on, every dollar was backed not by gold, but by debt itself. Governments could print endlessly. Banks could lend infinitely. And for the first time, there was no anchor, only confidence. The modern pyramid was complete. At the base, workers earning wages. Above them, consumers borrowing to buy what they couldn't afford. Above them, corporations borrowing to expand. Above them, governments borrowing to sustain growth. And at the top, central banks creating new money from the promises made by everyone below. A self-reinforcing cycle. Each new dollar requiring another borrower to exist. Debt had conquered the world. From Wall Street to Tokyo, from London to Sao Paulo, every economy now ran on credit creation. The old rule of gold, you can only spend what you have, was replaced by a new one, you can spend what you can borrow. Growth soared, technology advanced. We built the modern world on invisible promises. But beneath the surface, inequality deepened, speculation thrived, and risk piled higher than ever before. Every empire believes its debts will last forever. But pyramids never reach the sky, they rise until the foundation cracks. And when it does, the question isn't if it will fall, but who will be buried beneath it. This is Financial History Chronicles. Subscribe before the next collapse rewrites the rules again.